Well, thank you very much, and thanks, Friedrich, for having a platform here for geothermal to talk about. This is a very intimidating presentation for me because I normally only present to the choir, as we always say. So to promote and talk about geothermal as a brand to you is something very well, exciting for me and also quite a bit intimidating. Having said that, when I started in geothermal about 11, 12 years ago, what struck me the most is that we as a sector didn't really have any media outreach, nor did we have any media coverage in the overall energy media, particularly in the renewable energy sector, which was or is to that day dominated by wind and solar. So I kind of thought, what can one do? And so from a recovering investment banker, I became an accidental entrepreneur and founded the leading geothermal news platform as a tool essentially to promote geothermal and to create a news platform that is focused on development worldwide rather than the technical issues that we face as an industry. So one of the challenges that we face in geothermal is that we always need to explain geothermal first before we can talk about what we can offer. So one of the challenges that we face is that geothermal is seen as very complicated and very difficult to explain. And the question really is, why is that? And the point is that we connect geothermal with volcanoes. So everybody thinks that you just need to put the finger down in Iceland and you have geothermal. It is connected with the oil and gas sector, the drilling platforms, which puts us a little bit of a disadvantage of selling us as a green energy. And the other point is that we're often connected with the oil and gas sector with the result of getting a lot of opposition. So that's kind of a big challenge for us as a sector. Another issue is, and I was really quite grateful for Rana to made that point yesterday when she talked about the three synonyms of Iceland, the Icelandic brand, and one of them was geothermal. And as nice as it is for geothermal in our sector here in the country, it provides a challenge for us promoting geothermal internationally. So just as an example here, this is a Turkish newspaper from last week when Turkey reached the 1 gigawatt geothermal club with a power plant. Now basically with ongoing development going to be double the size of Iceland very soon. Here promoting that fact in the Turkish media with a picture from the power plant you saw yesterday here in Iceland, which I think is actually rather sad. The other challenge that we face is that we often, when we look for pictures how to promote ourselves and show geothermal, we use pictures from tourist sites. And quite frankly, are we ever going to build a plant there? Well, I hope not. So that's the challenge that we face. Number one, location, and the other point, really beautiful features of geothermal. So one of the pictures I always like to show is that we have geothermal everywhere in the world. It's just a matter how deep we need to go. So it's just a question for where we drill and where we can utilize it. And that's naturally a matter of cost. But what this also shows is that, and that's what the main theme of my speech here today is that we can use geothermal for so much more. And depending on the temperature that we can utilize. So whenever we talk about geothermal, we always talk about power generation. We talk geothermal power plants all over the world, and quite frankly, we are, in the overall scheme of things in the energy sector, a very tiny little bit. And despite the all over the potential, I don't think we will ever be that big to compete with other renewable energy resources on the electricity side on a global scale. But in certain countries, actually, geothermal plays a very, very important role. For example, in Indonesia, in El Salvador, and even in Kenya, where sometimes geothermal power produces about 50% of the electricity supply. So that's a very important part of geothermal in the way we promote ourselves. Another slide that I was really grateful to see yesterday was the issue of heating. Because that's something where we as a geothermal sector can shine the most, particularly replacing fossil fuel-based heating. And here, for example, in China, and as nice as the slide yesterday was, I might challenge you on that. It's not about the cars, but it's because of the coal-fired heating in Beijing that creates the smog. And that's why China actually pushes for geothermal heating quite strongly now to clean up the cities in China, replacing coal-fired heating with geothermal. I had to have one Icelandic slide, not to kind of break the theme completely, but street heating is another of those elements that geothermal can provide. Fish farming operations worldwide here in California with heated water from geothermal wells. Another exciting element here in Iceland, a company that produces methanol from CO2 emissions from geothermal wells. A very exciting kind of side product as well. Bathing, and I wanted to spare you a Blue Lagoon picture, but clearly here in this spa they will have less lineups than in the Blue Lagoon. But bathing is an important element for us promoting geothermal. And another element, particularly in line with all the discussions about electric cars, are the minerals we can derive from geothermal brine. So for example, in the Salton Sea in California, there's a lot of lithium in the geothermal brine and elsewhere in the world as well. So actually, a lot of the lithium that you'll find in electric cars going forward will come from geothermal operations worldwide. So that's a very interesting side fact. Another element, greenhouse heating and light. For example, here, big greenhouse operations in Kenya that are both producing electricity and heating for roses that are being exported worldwide. And I think there's a plane every day going from Kenya to the Netherlands with fresh roses. So for us, as a geothermal sector, to help promote ourselves, the challenge that we face, kind of how we present ourselves, and we as an international organization have been over the years predominantly been driven by engineers and academics. Not to say that this is a bad thing, but it's clearly not helping in promoting a simplified message of what geothermal has to offer. So when I took over the presidency of IGA last year, one of the main themes for me was to really change the way we present ourselves. We're starting with a logo, a social media campaign, but really promoting the way that we are an energy technology that can provide a lot. So if there's one thing I want you to take away from geothermal as a brand, what geothermal can offer, we are so much more than electricity. And the point is like this, and in all the discussions about the closeness to consumers and customers, geothermal provides such a local opportunity for energy utilities and energy companies like no other of the renewables. We provide more jobs, we provide more tax revenues locally, we provide a wide variety of revenues for the operator of any operations, being a power plant or heating or any other applications. So that's what we have to promote, and that's what we're working on, really defining and redefining and strengthening the brand of geothermal. So geothermal, energy beyond electricity. Thank you.